William Walsh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Pat. I appreciate it.
Well, I got to start out with saying thank you for being such a nice guy back in 1995 when I was a rookie, and there was many officers that didn't treat rookies all that great. Yeah, you were always nice to me. The first time I met you, I remember you shook my hand. Hey, I'm Will, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that went really far because the majority of the cops that you work with when you're brand new, they don't want anything to do with you.
Especially back in those days.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they didn't even talk to you. I had more conversations with the prisoners than I did with the cops that I was working with. They were nicer to me too. It was like, wow. So I got to get that out of the way. And the second big thing that really pops out at me when I was looking at your bio is you've been married for 35 years.
This December 19th will be 35 years.
Okay, I got to ask, what's the secret, man? That's a huge accomplishment, especially you're a Marine, you're a cop. I mean, like, come on, that's no easy task.
I'll tell you this, brother. I should charge for the secret sauce.
Yes, you should.
I should put that out on eBay or Amazon. Like, hey, here's the secret sauce. If you want to be married 35 years or longer, here's just what you got to do, and follow these steps, and you'll get there. Just joking. Oh man, so for me, and there's always two sides to the story, right?
Right.
A marriage, a relationship, and we've seen good, bad, and some just can endure the test of time. So to me, it's unconditional love. I have to love my wife in spite of my displeasures, right? I have to love my wife in spite of my own mere faults. I can come home late, having seen, done, tasted the experience of tragedies of life and not be in a mood to show any patience. And I have to remind myself that I'm still human, which allows me to remind myself that no matter what, she's still human. So it's that unconditional love. If you can love without expectation, I think you are able to see the beauty of people more clearly. And I can see the beauty of my wife clearer with the love of unconditional expectation that she's always going to meet my this level, my that level. She's always going to feed into me, nurture me, show me that wink, give me that smile, put that right, twist on the hip as she's walking by. All that goes into the concept of love, but I still think it has to be selfish in your unconditional love of people, and that would translate to a lot of issues and arguments that you might have, because in the end, you said, I still love you.
That's awesome.
I still care for you. I still want the best for you.
That is awesome. See, there's hope.
I don't know if that's the secret sauce, though, dude. I don't know.
Hey, I'll take it. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So let's start at the beginning with you. Were you born and raised in Milwaukee?
I'm born and raised in Milwaukee. Born in the old Boyne Hospital, which became Frederick.
Oh yeah. It was county. Then it was Doyne.
Yeah, county. Yep. So on the north side all my life, never lived on the south side till I got out of the Marine Corps, and we lived on the south side for a couple of years. Okay. But pretty much the north side, but Milwaukee is my home.
Did you meet your wife? Like, were you guys high school sweeties or?
So no, we met at 18, right out of high school. I'm working at the old Capitol Court. I'm working in Traverse Bay Fudge Company, and I'm making fudge. I wasn't a fudge packer. I was a fudge maker. Oh, get that shit straight. And I see this beautiful girl over there, and I'm into girls, and she comes over to my counter because she worked at this jewelry store called Splendiferous in Capitol Court. Yeah. She comes over, and I'm like, hey, how are you? She says, I'm good. And not knowing that she's hitting on me, because she tells me later, I was coming over there just to hit on you, and I never knew. I thought my game was good, man. I thought I had the smoothest gang in the world. She's going for everything I'm saying, but I'm not really knowing that she's actually targeting me, right? And she tells me later on, after we've been married, she says, I knew you were going to be my husband. Wow. Never knew any of this shit, dude. Never fucking knew any of this, right? So that's how we met, Capitol Court, young, didn't know anything, started dating at 18, and we were married 2 years later at 20.
Wow. Now, where did you go to high school?
I went to Custer.
Custer, okay.
Custer High School, yep.
Yeah.
Which is now Obama.
Yeah, they switched.
Obama now.
Yep, they changed the name. That's is that on Silver Spring? I'm trying to remember.
No, that's on Sherman.
Sherman. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Between Hampton and Villard, right there.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then as a young guy, and I went to grade school. I did get bussed. I was part of the big busing back in the day where
Oh, okay.
they bust a few of the black kids over to Victory on the south side. And dude, I get bused. I didn't want to go over there. I'm like, no, I don't want to go over there. Like, that's a foreign country, right? But my mom was like, no, you're going. You're part of the busing because everything was like political back in the 70s, brother.
Sure, yeah.
And kids were pawns on the board. And I get bussed over to Victory. And man, we pull up on that bus. It's only like 8 of us. And I'm gonna tell you something about cops. Tell you something. I don't know if this made me a cop, but I'm gonna tell you something about cops.
Yeah.
We got a second for this story, real quick?
No, go ahead.
So we pull up over there, and people are out there with signs, man. We don't want you over here.
Really?
It's a big news event. Oh, dude, we just thought we was in freaking South Alabama, down in the sticks of Atlanta or some shit like that. And they're I mean, nothing but white folk. They're out there like, we don't want you. We don't want busing. We pull up, man. We're all scared, dude. Mind you, this is first grade. I'm in the first grade going over there.
Yeah, yeah.
So the bus pulls up. The bus driver, he's looking scared. We're scared. It's only like 8 of us. Dude, this white cop gets on the bus, and he says to us, he says, listen, kids, I don't care what's going on outside. This has nothing to do with you all. I can hear him talking to him. It gives me chills right now. Yeah. He says, don't worry about it. He says, you're going to hold my hand. We're all going to hold hands. And we're going to get off this bus. And I'm telling you right now, nothing's going to happen to you. It almost makes me want to cry right now. He says, nothing's going to happen to you. And we believed him. And guess what happened? When that dude marshals off that bus, we knew nothing. And then we get into school, man, and it was the most great experience ever. I went to that school all the way up to the 5th grade. And I met some of the greatest friends, because it's I don't know, man. The whole racial thing, and I don't want to make a racial thing. It's a taught thing, because the kids in that school didn't know how to amplify maybe what their parents were feeling. I'm not saying that those people were protesting that were racist. I think they just were afraid, and that's fear of integrating schools, and that happened. But I'm telling you, dude, when that cop got on that bus and he talked to us and he assured us, it made me feel safe. It made me feel protected. And that was from my first real experience with a police officer.
Wow. And that's the way it should be. Police officers are, that should be a safe, haven for people. That should be. And for all of my career, and I'm sure yours too, that was our goal. That's what we did. Yes. But, the media and, the news and social media, oh my God, they will paint a completely opposite picture. You'll never see a story like on a TV show or a movie like what you just explained. Never.
No, you won't. No, if it leaves, it bleeds. Otherwise, they're not telling it.
That's so sad. So you wound up there. You went to Custer to high school. Did you go to the Marine Corps right after high school?
So no, I wasn't ready for college, and I wasn't ready for much. So I worked like 2 jobs, and I partied my butt off, right? So between partying and working, I worked at Charles Bay Fudge, and I worked at UPS as a loader. Then I worked as a puller. And then I got another job at Walgreens working the midnight shift. So between work, eating, and partying for 2 years, I was like, man. Then I was like, I got to do something else. I'm got my own place. Then I moved back home. My mom sleeping on her couch. I'm like, I got it. Come on now. Not that it was a big deal.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to the Marine Corps. So me and a buddy of mine, we joined the Marine Corps together, and he ended up popping hot. He ended up like doing a line of coke or something.
Oh like, my, yeah, that's frowned upon. Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, they're not taking you like that, right?
No.
So the recruiter comes and he says, did you do anything with him? I'm like, no, I didn't do anything. I said, you're going. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm going where? You're going to the Marine Corps. Like, I'm going. We're going to pick you up tomorrow. I'm like, okay, pick me up tomorrow. Like, and I went into the Marine Corps.
That is funny. It's funny you mentioned like a buddy. That used to be the buddy system. You could join the military on a buddy system. I don't know if they do that anymore. I mean, but that was like a thing when we were kids. Yeah,
that was a hot recruiting thing.
Yeah.
And the guy who did it, he's the one that came to me about the Marine Corps.
Yeah. So you joined the Marines. Was there anybody in your family that was in the military? I mean, was there any kind of influence with that?
No, none. Zero.
Okay.
Zero, none.
You just thought, I mean, Marine Corps, they're the best. So you wanted to be the best.
When I sat down and talked to the recruiter, and the way he explained to me about the best, that it hit me, man. I was like, and I had kind of dabbled with the Army and thought about going to Army, but the Marine Corps was the one for me, for my spirit, for who I was as
Yes.
a person, as a young man, and I wanted that challenge. I wanted that, and my cutting score for my ASVAB was enough that I could have got pretty much a better job. I ended up saying, no, I don't want like a radio operator. I don't want a mechanized division. I don't want to be a tanker. I told him I want to be infantry. I said, I want to jump out of trains, hide behind bushes, and shoot at people. He said, what? I said, I want to jump out of trees, hide behind bushes, and shoot at people. He says, really? I said, yeah. So I got the 0311, which is the infantry contract, and I was infantry when I was in the Marine Corps.
Now, were you married when you were in the Marines?
Yes, I was.
So your wife came along.
Let's paint the picture properly on that one too.
Okay.
So we're dating. I go into Marine Corps. My wife is my soon to be, not knowing my wife going to be. She's helping me prepare for Marine Corps because we were dating at the time. I'm starting to run around the city. She go to the park with me. I run around the park. She'd be encouraging me and everything because I got to get in shape for this. You know, I'm doing push-ups. She's encouraging me. And dude, I get into go into the military, and I go to boot camp. Right, I get out of boot camp, and I go to my school of infantry. I get a letter from her saying that she's pregnant.
Oh boy!
Now me, I don't want my kids raised without my name at the time. So I come back home. I asked, will you marry me? She said, yeah, I'll marry you. And we miscarried with the first kid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you know, we were never not going to be together. It was just that one of those things of, at that time, you're young, you don't know any better. You just, my life is her life is mine. And and so she went everywhere I went, she went when I was in the Marine Corps.
How many years were you in?
I did 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. Where were you stationed?
I was out in Norfolk, Virginia, NES Brunswick, Maine. I was out in 29 Palms, California, San Diego, California, just those places. Yeah.
Okay. I love San Diego. That's probably one of if I had the money, that's one of my places that I would not mind living. That's for sure.
Beautiful.
Oh, God, yes. All day long. So you spend your time in the Marine Corps. Now, is that when you're considering getting out, did you start thinking about a career in law enforcement?
So no, I'm thinking that I'm going to re-up, right?
Okay.
And we got our first kid, Tia, my first daughter, second is Labria. So Tia's born. We're dirt poor. Now I'm talking dirt. We're like $18 from getting food stamps, right?
Oh,
so my wife is working. We lived in a trailer. We moved from a Adobe hut to a trailer, and that was a step up, right? Living off bases. So I'm like, I can't do this job, right? But I'm thinking I'm going to re-up, and maybe it'll be better for us and everything. But we're not. I mean, the ends aren't mean. If the military wanted you to have a wife and kid, they'd issue you one, right?
Right.
So they didn't issue me one. I kind of brought mine with me. So I'm thinking, all right. And my wife's mom ended up sending me that the Milwaukee Police Department is hiring.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up coming back on recruiter's assistant twice, filling out the application because I'm in that final 8 months of my enlistment to make a decision here. So I got potential orders to re-up, or I can try to get a job. And that's how I came about. Otherwise, I think I was probably going to re-enlist or try to get a job out on the West Coast. But then she sent me the article from Milwaukee Journal back in the day, said that the Milwaukee Police Department was hiring. And I filled out the application, came back a couple of times, and next thing you know, I'm back here. I ended up getting out before I got hired, and I'm working at Master Lock, right?
Okay, sure.
I couldn't stand it, Pat. I couldn't stand it, dude. I'm building locks. This table goes around. I'm just building locks. This is all I'm doing for 6 hours. Break. 8 hours break. I'm like, I quit the job. I go get hired as a Pinkerton security guard from making at that time probably about $18 an hour to making right around $4.50, $5.50 an hour.
Yeah.
That's how much I hated the factory job. It's like it was killing my mind, right?
Oh, okay.
So and then all of a sudden got a knock on the door, and there's the guy giving me the letter that I've been accepted into the academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
of 293.
Do you remember how many people took the written test with you? Like, I remember when I took it, there was like 2,000 or 3,000 people that took it. Maybe
there were
more.
hundreds when I took it, hundreds.
Yeah, there was thousands when I took it. And it's funny you mentioned the newspaper, because that's how I found out, because my ex-wife was just looking through the newspaper and she knew I was looking at different police jobs. And you ever consider Milwaukee? And I'm like, well, I interned there with the sheriffs and I really enjoyed it. I didn't know Milwaukee. You know, I came from Chicago as a kid. Then we wound up in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. And I just, you know, Milwaukee was a place that you went to Summerfest, you know, or a concert. But other than that, I didn't know the city. And I'm like, you know, I drove around a couple of times and I'm like, well, it kind of reminds me of a little Chicago. So, and my heart's in Chicago. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll give it a whirl. And yeah, before you know it, boom, you know, it took a while. You know, I was on the waiting list for 4 years. It didn't just happen.
Oh, yeah, it took me 2.5 years and I was on a minority list.
Yeah, that's you never know. And you know, I don't like to get into politics, but yay, Bill Clinton, you know, he has got lots of faults, but he's the one who did the crime bill. And he's the one who beefed up all these police departments. That's why we would be running like 4 academies in 1 year, which was unheard of back then. I got hired because of federal money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably around the same with you too, because they're trying to deal with the crack epidemic. You know, crime was just soaring. You know, we call it the crack wars in the 90s. It was bad.
Yeah.
But
that had to be enjoyable for you to come to District 5, Pat, and then run, because we were often running at District 5. Crime was so high, and it was something every night. That had to be a great experience for you too, brother.
Oh, it was. I felt like a kid in a candy store. I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Every night there's a shooting. You're surrounded by live gunfire every night. You're just. It's always some kind of high drama going on. You know, every night there was a chase. I mean, I can't think of a night where there wouldn't be some kind of. You know, high-speed car chases, high-speed, you know, then it would be a foot chase. Then you're doing this, then you're kicking down doors, you're going after bad guys. I mean, it was fun.
Yes.
That was a good time. But was there anybody in your family or friends that were in a police department or that kind of mentored you a little bit? Or was this just something that just because of that one instance with that police officer, you know, that sparked something, but you know, did you like police shows on TV or anything like that? Or
never thought about them. Never thought about them. I was always felt more akin to a military, and I kind of knew I was going to spend a big part of my life in uniform. Okay, I thought it was going to be the military. That's why I don't know if the incident, because I was such a young age, I was such an impressive. I mean, I'm going in the first grade. I don't even know how old you are in the first grade, right?
Like you're 6.
I remember. Yeah, I remember this authority figure cop. Milwaukee cop, whoever the heck, he could have been, you know, Planet X cop. I don't know. But I remember his presence and his power and his sternness and his don't worry about nothing. Like he would rip someone's head off if they effed with us, right? Don't fuck with these kids, right? And now I can look back on it, but I had no family members that were ever cops. I had no family members that I found a couple uncles that were in the military years later. I'm like 40 plus years old. I didn't know they were in the military. So I had no connection to the military and definitely no connection to being a police officer. I didn't watch many. I mean, if I watched police shows, it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a cop. It wasn't never anything like that.
Okay. So what did your mom say when you're like, hey, guess what I'm going to do?
Supportive, but scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely like supportive. Like, okay. But at that time, I'm a grown man. I've done Marine Corps.
Sure.
I've had my first kid, and then I'm going to academy. My wife is pregnant with my second kid.
Okay.
While we're in the academy with my second kid, so I'm not at that point. I'm a little more mature in my outlook on life. That I got to make ends meet for this thing that I have at home that hopefully reflects stability, right?
Right.
Hopefully reflects, prosperity in some way. And law enforcement allowed me to do that. It was one of the greatest jobs I could have ever land, right? Especially with a family.
Now, were there any family members or friends that were like, he's going to be a cop now? Did they kind of look sideways at you at all? Or, I mean, the common stereotype or trope is, it's like, oh, now you're going to become a cop. It's like, cops are terrible to black folk, et cetera, et cetera. Now you're going to be the enemy. Did you
Yeah.
get anything like that?
So what's funny about my family, my cousins, because I've had cousins that weren't the right side of the law. I've had family members that weren't on the right side of the law, but it was never a problem for them. It was never a problem. My
Okay.
problem came in with the community that didn't know me. So my family knew me. They knew what kind of person I was, and
Right.
they loved me, and we played together as kids, and that didn't change anything when I became a cop, other than I'm a cop now, and I can't play with you guys like that because I'm a man now. I can't hustle on play basketball in the alley and you're over there, doing something strange with a hand to hand, right?
Right.
That's not going to work out for me. I'm not doing that one. So they knew it and I knew it, right? But the problem came in for me was dealing with a lot of blacks in the city that thought I was a sellout, that thought I was working for the man, that thought I was an Uncle Tom, that thought I was keeping my own race of people down. So yeah, a lot of black cops would run into that. I know I did, but from my family side, I can say probably good 90+% of them it was never an issue. It's never been an issue. And actually they were very proud of me.
That's awesome. It's very good. Now, Milwaukee PD, you went there. Would you have considered another department, or did you have your eyes on any other departments?
So when my mother-in-law sent me that article, I started looking out at California Highway Patrol.
Okay. Chips. Yeah.
Yep. And I think I put an application. I can't remember. I remember looking at the application process or something like that. But from the word go, me coming back here a couple times, filling out the application process and going through some of the testing process and procedures, it was always Milwaukee.
Okay. So, well, you were born in Milwaukee.
Focus on something else. Yeah.
Yeah. It's familiar, and we like familiar, it's human nature, without a doubt. So what did you think of the academy? I mean, I went through the academy with, a bunch of Marines, and they all thought it was a cakewalk, with a PT or whatever. They're like, yeah, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. What do you think?
I thought it was a wonderful experience. Maybe some people have a hoity-toity, and this is nothing to me. I thought I'm glad I was in shape. I'm glad that helped me.
Oh, yeah.
That helped me with the PT. I had understood firearms from the Marine Corps, and I was actually a pistol expert, but those were pistol expert Marine Corps training, which weren't good habits for pistol training,
right?
Police training.
Sure.
So that didn't transfer well. So I learned better how to get rid of these military habits and start thinking the more civilian structured police shooting thought process when I fire a gun, that I'm not trying to just kill people habits, right? So my experience in the academy was I met some of the greatest friends ever. There's people I still talk to from my academy class. It was a pleasure to see us grow up on a department coming out of 293 academy class. I thought the instructors were phenomenal. I thought they were professional. I thought they kept a standard of this is the police officer you want to be, no matter what you see when you get on the street. Make sure you remember these tenets of good policing in the academy. We had a class of 70.
Oh, wow, that's big.
Yeah, we had a huge class. And I would say when it's all said and done, there are probably maybe less than 35 of us left at the end of the career. Because they went a lot of
by the end of 25 years. I would guess that there was even less. It's shocking to see. I had 43 people in mine. It was a small class. We were kind of like the bottom. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And I went up in there.
Hey, you made it, brother.
I made it. Ha ha.
That's what counts.
That's right. You even promoted me. What the hell? But
motherfuckers, I made it.
That's right. But I think only 12 of us wound up doing 25. And that's just hey, this job ain't for me. I'm quitting. Hey, I'm going to go to ATF. I'm going to go to the state. I'm going to go FBI. I'm going to go DA. I'm going to, my wife, she ain't down with this. This ain't cool. It was great when I was young and everything was fun and exciting. Now I got kids. It's not just me. You think about those young cats that came into the academy that were single, no children, And, it's like, why not? Why not be as high speed as possible and go have some fun, work a ton of overtime, make some money? Life is great. Oh, wait, now I'm married. Oh, wait, now I've got kids. And it's like, oh boy,
Oh,
I
wait, now
want
the schedule doesn't work out for having a family.
Yeah, exactly. Or do I want to send my kids to MPS schools? It's like I'm forced to live in this city now. My family is forced to live in this city. I don't have choices. It's either that or pay a ton of cash for private school.
Yes, sir.
So that was one of the major things, some of my classmates, pop smoke is because like my kids aren't going to go to MPS, for school. Hell no. And I can't afford, private school. So I could get paid the same or more in a suburb. And the public schools there are great. So guess what? That's what I'm going to do.
Yep. And so, let's shift stress.
Yes.
Call for service stress.
That's very true. I'm not going to downplay what suburban cops go through, but they just don't have the volume that we did.
Absolutely. Our suburban cops were awesome.
Yeah. But they just don't see the things that we saw and not in the volume that we experienced.
Not even close, brother. Not even close.
Not even a little bit. So you get out of the academy and your first assignment was District 5 late shift after field training?
Yes. Yeah, they sent 4 of us there.
Only 4? Wow.
Yeah, they sent me, Carrie Ann Yerkes, Juan Duran, and I forget her name, Williams, black female. I went Deanna Williams. They sent 4 of us there, and we come to 5, man. We walked through the door, and you thought we walked into a foreign atmosphere. It was show up here and at this time and meet the captain, right?
Yep.
And we walked into District 5, man, and District 5 was a dungeon. It was not a model building, dude. You know that when you got there, right?
Yes.
Oh man, so yeah, we end up at District 5, only 4 of us, and it couldn't ask for a better district, dude. Like we met Captain Bassage.
Yep. Great captain.
And oh my gosh, dude, just brung us in, you can come in on a rocky landing, or you come in wheels down, tray tables up, and it's just you don't even know you just hit the ground.
Right.
And that's what Bassage did for us. So you know, it was good to have him as the head shed person coming to that district. And the sergeants were quality. They knew what they were doing.
Yes.
But they didn't treat you like a pup though, man. They treat you like a foreigner, dude. Like you said, like you're lower than well crap, dude.
Yeah, you are.
Not say anything, right? You better come in here and be quiet and shut your freaking face. If I hear bad about you, that's your ass, right?
Right.
So yeah, we got to District 5 and started off. My FTOs were Thompson, I think the best FTO ever, and Howard Joplin.
Okay.
The second best FTO ever. Those are just I could have got 2 more mature, easy going, let me learn patient people with this job.
See,
they did me phenomenal.
Tom was not my FTO, but I worked with him a lot when I was newer.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously the same shift, and he was a teacher just by nature.
Yes, he was.
He had the patience. He never got excited ever.
Nope.
In either direction. It's like, are you on like something I should know about her? Yeah, it's like he was always tired. Because that guy liked his
3-card day.
Yeah. Oh man.
I never got off shift. When I worked at Tom, it was always gonna be a 3-card day.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Always.
For those who don't know, by cards, there are physical overtime cards that we would file.
Yes.
If
your overtime card, your FLSA, the court card, and your court card.
Yeah, and here's the thing: almost every arrest, and you want to arrest somebody that night. If you have somebody new and you have a recruit, you got to give them the reps of going through an arrest. And there are some arrests that you have to, like, you work midnight to 8, then you have to go to the DA's office in the morning and present your case. You're going to tell whoever the ADA is, hey, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And you were waiting around with a bunch of other grumpy, tired cops. And I hated being there. Tom was like a little school kid. He's just like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, oh, I just want to go home. This sucks. But that's how you learn. It's
Dude, that's how you learned me.
Yeah, and
That's
it
how
was
you
also
learned
a
me,
rite of
dude.
it was a rite of passage too.
Yep.
Just okay, does this guy have the cojones to stay up for 16 hours? To work 16 hours, and then come back to work that night, that kind of thing. So there was all kinds of rite of passages and all that. So you're at District 5. How long were you at District 5 late shift? How many years?
I was there until I got sent to Patrol Support Division. That's like people that work for the tax squad. So I was at District 5 for about 7 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's about
7, 8 years, right in that.
Pretty close to what I did. Yeah, I got caught up in the big Jones transfer. And I wound up at and I wound up at District 3. And I'm like, okay, I landed on Mars. It's just you see the quality of where you worked and the quality of the people that you worked with, and it really shines through when you go to another district that doesn't have the same standards.
Yeah. And our camaraderie was off the chain, dude.
Oh, it was. We had a ton of fun. Oh my gosh. We just had so much fun. I love that time, and I'll always cherish it. It's like I worked with great cops like you, and we had great bosses, and just it's irreplaceable. It's not everybody was lucky enough to have that experience. That's for sure. So any surprises? It's like, okay, you're like a newer cop or something like that. Was there anything in your mind going like, oh, I didn't expect that. This is a little different.
The level of violence from one person to another, it shocked me. And even growing up in Milwaukee, and people like, well, there's nothing growing up in the hood, or whatever. Say whatever. I know where I grew up at, and I know that I never experienced the level of violence I saw in uniform when I was growing up in the city. When you get called to violence, to deal with violence, it was shocking to me, Pat, how brutal one person can be to another person. And the tragedy that they would leave behind in their wake of, oh my God, look at this once human breathing person is no longer a human breathing person, but his body is just destroyed. So that shocked me. I tell a story all the time. Early on in my career, I thought I was going to have to quit. I thought I was going to this job was not going to be for me, because I saw Grayson, me and John Grayson were on an assignment where these guys destroyed 2 East Side skateboarders over a pound of weed and threats to kill. Where the guy in jail is being threatened by a guy who's not in jail, who owes a pound of weed or $1,000, whatever it is, and he threatens the guy's pregnant girlfriend. When a guy in prison sends a couple of hitters to get this guy at a party, they blow these 2 dudes apart with pistols and shotguns. And one guy that I'm dealing with, his stomach is just not really there anymore. It's just oozing. I never seen the inside of a stomach like that, where a shotgun kind of opens it up, and he's got all kinds of shot wounds in his face and chest. I can handle that. But I look down, because this is on the east side. Remember, on the east side, some of those houses are up on a hill in the back, so you got to walk up. So I look down, and John's not with me. I look down, and I shine my light, and I see John by the curve between a car and the curve, and I'm like, "What the fuck's he doing?" And he's like holding this guy's trying to get a pulse or something. And I shine my light, and the guy's half his head is missing, but his foot is kind of twitching. I go, John, he's not gonna. John, no, come up here now. I must have stepped over the guy, because I never see him, but John sees the guy, and that scene bothered me. So I didn't sleep the first night. John ended up leaving the job.
Yeah, he did. That job was not for him. I mean, great guy, totally. Working with him, but he had second thoughts, third thoughts, fourth thoughts. He just, like you said, his heart wasn't there.
Well, this did it. By the second night, I hadn't slept. So I said, if I don't sleep this night, I'm gonna have to resign. I can't not sleep. So I prayed. I was like, hey, God, give me peace. Otherwise, I want to do this job, but give me peace. I can't sleep. Slept like a baby. I've been sleeping like a baby ever since.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was a tough one. So I guess the level of violence, Pat. I mean, some people, I get it. You should be able to handle it. You got to be able to handle it. But it caught me off guard. because I was never raised with that kind of violence, even though I've seen people get beat up. I've had fights and,
Right.
Just growing up, but just the destruction of one person to another it was wild to me. It was a wild moment.
Just what shocked me, and it was shocking, was just how little the value of human life was to certain individuals when you saw it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the carnage and the fallout from this kind of stuff. And it's like you hear so much on TV, movies, social media, whatever, about police reform, reform for the criminal justice system, prison reform, blah blah. And I'm like, you wouldn't feel so sorry for these criminals if you talk to some of their victims or their victims' families. Yes. I'm not saying that it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you have to show both sides, and they never, ever do.
That's why we have bail reform now.
Oh,
you don't even get bail anymore. What is it? It's called like
it's catch and release now.
Yeah,
it's like fishing, dude. Yeah, it's like...
sorry, dude, you didn't destroy enough life. Get out.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you've killed someone.
Yeah,
please.
What do you mean shot him in the leg? Yeah, I shot him in the leg, but I was trying to kill him. No, but only shot him in the leg. All right, come back. Here's your court date. Like, what?
Yeah, that is beyond shocking and very sad. But I'm glad you had some faith
in the family.
I'm sorry, what?
I said it was for victims and families.
Yeah.
Their story never gets told.
Never. And that's what we would see. You'd see the mom or the sister or the brother or whoever just wailing, and you'll never ever forget those sounds.
Yes, and those are real sounds.
Oh God,
real anguish pains.
Oh, it'll make the hair on the back of your neck just stand up. You're just like, yes, oh my God, this is true grief. This is true, and it's like, for that life to be taken so suddenly and so just savagely and just such a horrible event. And people, unless you've been in it, they just, and Hollywood will never depict that. You can't. I don't even know how you could, but yeah. So what was your favorite part of working at District 5 on late shift?
I think it was a special time for me in my career and meeting the people I've met. I'll tell you right now, my brothers and sisters in blue were true friends, comrades. I could depend on them in a pinch. The amount I don't know if every district or every cop has experienced what I've experienced as a young cop at District 5. I don't know who started that atmosphere. I don't know where that atmosphere came from. But being an officer growing up at District 5, that was one of the greatest things. I could not wait to get back to work. I could not wait to put my uniform on, no matter how tired I was. I could not wait to see the people. I could not wait to see who's going on duty that night. I look forward to looking down the line or coming into the building, sitting at the table and saying, hey, what's up? What's going on? Are we going to get this? Are we doing this? Are we going after this? What are you guys working on tonight? What's the follow-up going to be? What's that first pitch for service? And oh man, we're going to hit our squad area. We're going to make sure that, we catch somebody tonight because somebody's going to jail.
Yep.
But the camaraderie of the people. So just like the savageness of the nature of policing at the level we were policing at was a wow. So was the amount of camaraderie and joy and teamwork and esprit de corps. For me, it was real.
Yes.
It was a real experience that I talk about even to this day. I talk about my even if I see those cops today, it's always like, oh, what's up?
Right.
What's going on? Oh, it's a hug. It's not like, oh, hey, it's an actual like, where the fuck you been?
Yeah.
Like, I miss you. Right.
Yeah, I like it when I try to explain that to people. It's like it's family. Where family, you're gonna have sometimes petty little jealousies, you're gonna have arguments,
absolutely.
You're gonna, there'll be some bad times, but when the chips were down, I could always depend on, hey, the brothers and sisters in blue, man. If you were battling with somebody like serious, and you heard those sirens in the background, you're like, hey, I know in a couple of minutes or a minute or whatever that, they got me. And they're not going to
go down.
Yeah, they're not going to be worried about, it's like, hey, you know what? He got that day off when I didn't, I saw him looking at my girlfriend. I saw, whatever the case, all that goes out the window when the shit hits the fan. And I don't think there's anything else like that.
No.
Great
experience. It was a great experience.
It was. So after District 5, where did you wind up going?
So I wrote to go to the tax squad, right? I was like, I want to go to the tax squad. They were taking the application for the tax squad and patrol support, street crimes. So I went through the interview process. I didn't get accepted. To this day, I don't know why I didn't get accepted, because I beat everyone in all I was like number one in all the testing, the shooting, and all this other stuff. I didn't get selected.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you why. I went through the process. They asked me to go to street crimes, try out the street crimes, see how you work out, and we might select you that way. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go for it. I'll shovel it. I'm cool with that. I go to street patrol support, street crimes, and I'm there for like 2 years, and I still don't get selected. So at this time, also a trainer. I'm trained in DAT. I'm going to academy, doing some training, helping out training DAT, vehicle contact. I'm firearms trained with the pistol and rifle, and they're end up giving a spot open at the range. Okay. So I go from patrol support to the range, where I become one of the primary firearms, and that's where I met Eli Cole and Chaco and all those other guys, and Ted Puente, and I was down there, and I got promoted out of the range. So I was District 5, patrol support, street crimes, the firearms range at the academy full time, and then I made sergeant. Okay. And then I went to the tax squad.
So you went to the tax squad as a sergeant right away. We were talking before I hit the record button, and that's almost a disservice, because you don't know how to be a sergeant. When you're a brand new sergeant, they sell those chevrons on the, you go to a 3-week course where it's hard to stay awake. It's like drinking from a fire hose. It's like, and then, whatever the case may be, some people have great experiences with that. I was somewhere in the middle. It's like, all right, this is okay. It's whatever. But like any police job, you don't know it until you do it.
Yeah. True.
So that does not set you up for success, I think. So what was your experience?
You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. I that is a disservice. It's one of those things that the system created its own bad situation. So there was a time on SWAT, on the tax squad, when only certain people were allowed to be there, right? And there was an exclusion unless you comported or acted a certain kind of way, that they would allow certain other minority races to be on the tax squad, just enough, but not. And then we had Jones. So now Jones is the chief. Jones is pissed at the tax squad for whatever reason. Whatever they're trying to get some diversity down there. However it does, but the system creates its own bad experiences, and I became the system's bad experience in that my resume, my training, my experience, all that said, I should have been a SWAT operator.
Absolutely.
But since the sergeants that were down there were so opposed to having so many certain amount or any blacks down there at the time, but very few, 1 or 2 at a time, it became a fight between Jones and this group of sergeants and some of their people that backed them up. Who's going to win that fight, Pat?
Yeah, the chief is.
Yeah, all day long.
He's the boss. He's the big boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get orders to go to District 7 as a sergeant. I got orders. I'm going to District 7. Me and Yerkes and somebody else with me and Rich Yerkes. I get promoted at the same time.
Yeah.
I got orders to go. The captain of District 7 shows up. I can't think of his name now. I don't see him every now and then. Black captain, kind of heavier, wear glasses. Anyways, he shows up. He's like, thank you. He's like, he actually told me, hey, I'm gonna get you in my district, whatever. I'm looking forward to it. My orders get changed that I'm going to TEU, tax squad. I look at this, I'm like, I'm not going there. I already know. I already know how this looks. I already know this is not going to be good for me as a brand new sergeant.
Right.
Plus, they didn't want me as a cop.
Oh
right?
my!
I'm like, this is not going to be good. So freaking and I don't even care anymore. So Jones and some other people, they pretty much say, you're going because we need some diversity there. Just try it, give it a shot. Don't worry. So I don't know Jones from nobody. I don't know. Remember, I don't know anybody on this department. I don't have any friends. I don't have any connections. I don't have any lifeline. Nothing other than me being newly promoted black sergeant that fits the bill of whatever the equation or the quantification says. We can use him to go down there and kind of break this up. Man, I go down there and I get treated like shit. I get, oh my God, Pat, I get scorned. Oh my goodness. But what I was smart enough to shut my mouth. I was smart enough, and Dale Racer tells me this. Dale Racer, one of my mentors. You remember Dale?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Dale Racer, he says, well, we didn't want you down here. He said, I'm gonna tell you straight up, we don't want you down here. I said, I appreciate that, Dale, but I'm here. He says, so I'm gonna tell you what. So I'll tell you what, Will. He says, just be quiet, listen, and just learn. He says, don't worry, but just so you know, nobody wants you here. You know, that's a blow to your ego. You know, nobody wants you. That's a hard one, you know. So Dale became my mentor, and that I learned to be an operator. So I would go to all the training. I would dig into the books. I would be the first one at training. I would be the last one to leave. I would be, if they're going on operation, I ask, mind if I ride along with you guys? You know, as a SWAT sergeant, you can do pretty much whatever you want. You like the big dog of dogs, right? So I would ride along with the bosses down there, and I'm a boss, but I'm not acting like a boss at the time. I'm acting more like less than one of the SWAT officers. I'm actually allowing myself to be trained by officers, and I never used my rank on anything up until one day that I had to blow up, and I think that did it for SWAT when I blew up on a couple of their main operators because they set me up for failure.
Oh,
it was a simple thing. It was not a big deal, but it had to happen. So they were trying to make me look bad, and I did look bad, but it almost cost someone injury, and I could not abide that.
Right,
and I lost it. I lost it, and came in the office next day, and everybody was like, "Hey, boss, hey, what's going on?" It was like I had made the cut because the two dudes I blew up on were very valuable members, very tenured members, and they were everything they said go was go. Other than you don't outrank me, you motherfucker. So take that, and it worked out. And I was there for about eight years. I became the training coordinator for SWAT. I became the lead fire instructor for SWAT. I became in charge of everything SWAT related before I left there, and it was a great experience. But no, it's not a good equation. I would never recommend that boot sergeant to anything special.
Yeah, and you know, when I talked to your class, you know, a few weeks back, I said the same thing about you're a police officer. It takes like 3, 4, 5 years to learn that job. Don't be tempted because you check a box or you're cute or whatever, or you're connected, where you have 6 weeks, you have 12 weeks of field training, and then like a month later, you're on some special unit. No, you're not even a cop yet. You don't even know how to be a cop yet.
Right.
You know, and it's the same thing with bosses. You know, it's like you have to do the job before you can, like, you know, like I said, just, you get a cool badge, you get some stripes on your arms. That doesn't mean you're a sergeant. Yeah, technically you are, but you don't know the job until you do the job, and you have to get your reps in.
I agree. Dude, I felt like I was crossing the picket line or something like that, dude. I was like, wow, this is.
But that's the way it was with. That's the way it was with a lot of specialty units where it was a good old boys club. You know, it's like, okay, you know, it's like we play softball together. You know, you're not on my team. You know, and if you think it's better in a suburb, sometimes it's worse. I had a good friend that he took the sergeant's exam every time it came up, and he always scored in the top 5. And he never got promoted, and it was always people that the chief handpicked who he wanted.
Yep.
And
right person for the job or the best person for it.
He would be like number 3 on the list, but he'd pick number 6 because they play darts every Monday night.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's like small, I mean, there's politics no matter where you go, but sometimes small towns are even worse and there's nowhere to hide. If you got a boss that doesn't like you, you don't like him, at least when you're in a department of 1,500 people and 7 districts and all these specialty units, usually you could go somewhere else and kind of like, okay, we're divorced. We need to be away from each other. This ain't healthy.
You got that right. I'll tell you, Pat, when I applied for SWAT, dude, my arrest record was there. I didn't take off.
Right.
I didn't. I mean, I'm coming out of the meat eating District 5, dude.
Absolutely.
I'm hot. And I'm trainer. I've been an FTO. I work special captain's car at District 5. I've done everything other than the old boys network that said, nah, we're not taking them. And when they showed up on that list, they kept giving lists to Jones that there were not any like real diversity to it. And that's a big thing for departments, good, right, or wrong. That's a big thing for citizens. Diversity. That we can say as a closed system, well, we're not looking at it from that perspective, but citizens are, politics are, and we become branded by that, even if we're unintentionally doing it, right?
Right. But but on paper and real life experience, it'd be a no-brainer to have you as a SWAT guy. You had all the credibility in the world.
I got turned out twice, actually.
Yeah, but it flips the other way too, where I remember, I'm not going to say who it was. There was one of my cops was trying to get on the TAC unit and he was going through the interviews and you called me. I'll never forget. I was District 2 late shift sergeant. And
check all that.
Yeah. And you said, hey, Officer X, who was a minority and he was hooked up, is trying to get on the TAC squad. What do you think? And I said, no. I said, you know what? He's a good guy. He's a decent cop, but he's not a TAC guy. What I meant by that was he's not going to be that guy that you're like, okay, this is your corner of the house. These are your areas of responsibility. Stay here for the next half hour. He would be like, well, actually, I think I should be over it. I'm like, no. He drove me nuts sometimes. It's like, no, I'm calling the shots, right, wrong, or indifferent, unless it's like completely, bizarre shit world or whatever. I'm like, no. And in that environment with, attack, I'm no big operator or anything, but I do know it's very, very important. It's like everybody has their job to do. Everybody has their areas of responsibilities. And you have to be able to trust the guy behind you and in front of you to not say, you know what, I think I'd be better off in that corner over there. I know more than that sergeant, even though I just started. And I said, no, I think you guys recommended no, but like I said, he was hooked up and he was a minority and he made it. And he lasted, I think, 4 or 5 months. And he was back. Yeah, and he was back on the shift. I'll tell you later who it was.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw it coming 100 miles away. Yeah. There are certain people that work great in a team concept, and there's others that do not. And he was not that guy, but he checked a bunch of boxes for diversity or whatever. Yep. It's like, that's great to be diverse, but you're doing that person a disservice if they're not right for that job.
And that's how the system creates its own bad moves. It creates its own, because many times we don't take the right person for the job because we're too busy hooking our buddies up. And then we have to be forced to take people who aren't good for the job because we've hooked our buddies up so much that now we're forced to take someone else that's not even good for the position. Right.
Yeah. So what kind of like errors or misconceptions do you see that like pop out in your head when you're watching TV or movies or reading books about like SWAT stuff?
That they're all the elites of police officers, that they have the best training, they have the best guns, they have the best home life. That they're like cut from the Judge Dredd of RoboCops, right?
Okay.
when most operators, most I guess you don't get the sense of what real SWAT operators are by watching those shows, because most SWAT operators are very cognizant and conscientious of pulling that trigger and taking someone's life. Whereas the TV shows make it seem like they can't wait to take a life.
Right.
Or the TV shows can't wait till they get into the shootout. Or the TV shows demonstrates that when they do shoot it out or something like that, that it's not a big deal. You know, let's go on to the next one. When that's not the reality of SWAT operators. SWAT operators, they train at a high level so they can deal with those very few instances of the barricaded arm, I'm not gonna come out alive subject, right? So to me, that it's not those shows don't show a real picture of what an operator really is. An operator is probably one of the most caring people you'll ever meet when it comes to deciding to take someone's life or going to operation. How much detail goes into planning an operation as to make it the safest possible for not only the officer, but for the person who might have done death stuff, who might have dealt to other people. So I those shows don't do it for me, Pat. I don't watch them. I think when SWAT first came out, remember the movie SWAT when it first came out?
Yep.
All of us SWAT operators got our SWAT coats on, our flight jackets on, and it had to be 20 of us in the movie theater watching SWAT. And you know, when we came out of SWAT, we thought it was shit.
Oh, what terrible. Really drove me nuts was, okay, you have the uniform cops and they portray them as these cowardly little just peons that are almost hiding, and then SWAT's come and save the day. You know, it's gonna And I forget who the actor was, and it's like, hey, SWAT's here, you can leave. And it's like, you can go fucking eat a dick. It's like, that ain't real, man. It's like a real cop would be like, whatever, dude. I don't need you. And what really isn't portrayed as SWAT saves a lot more lives than takes lives by
they do.
Huge numbers, and you'll never see that being glorified on TV or movies or whatever. And that's their goal. They're there, it's police work. You're there to save lives, not take lives. Does it happen? Yes. But
and you're there to save. On the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that drives me nuts. And the other thing that pops out to me, and I think you'd probably agree, is most critical incidents happen to cops on the street taking assignments or on patrol. It's not the SWAT operators. SWAT operators show up for barricaded subjects, like a hostage thing, or they do the high risk search warrants, those types of things, where statistically a lot of like lethal force engagements are the cop on the street doing their jobs.
By far.
That's it. That's where the majority of the quote unquote action is that will give you some sleepless nights. So you do that for about 8 years. You wind up at IAD, Internal Affairs.
No, I wind up at District 4.
Okay.
And then IAD.
Okay, so you wind up at 4 for a while, then you go to IAD. How did you wind up in Internal Affairs? How did you wind up eating cheese up at the Rat Squad?
Right. It was cheese eating. It was moldy cheese too. So Al, who's now was the chief of Milwaukee, Al Morales, and now the chief of Fitchburg. Al is a lieutenant at Internal Affairs. Al he's looking for people to come down to Internal Affairs. Al, who's more of a street. I mean, you like him or don't like him. I think he was pretty freaking crap hot, right? So he comes to me, he says, Will, what do you think about going to Internal Affairs? I said, don't even ask. Ain't no way, Al. No, Lieutenant. I'm good. I'm District 4. I'm on the street. I'm loving life as a district sergeant. I'm good. He says, well, I want you to think about something. And he says, I really want you to think about something, Will. And he says, we have such and such down there, and they're horrible people, and I need to get rid of them. He says, but I can't find people to take their position. He says, I want you to. I said, Al, I've had issues. I've had, falling outs. I don't know, who doesn't have arguments and disagreements with other
absolutely
people? I said, so I come down there. I said, I don't want to be a disagreeable person. He says, well, not like that. He says, think about all the training you've done on the department. He says, people know you. You've trained pretty much the entire department through in-services and other specialized training. He says, just think about it. And he throws another name out. He says, because this person is down there and this person is writing to come down there. I said, oh, hell no. Sorry, Al. That's all right. I said, how long are you? He said, just 2 years. Dude, I'm down there for 4.5 years. 4.5 years, man. I'm like, you motherfucker, dude. And he leaves, gets promoted out. I'm like, you mother, get out. So I'm down there, dude. And I'm glad I experienced it, Pat. I'm glad that was invaluable eye-opening of how the department really works. It's really behind the screen, looking at how decisions are made, how ugly decisions can be made, how sometimes it's not to the benefit of the officer, but it's to the benefit of the political winds at bay. How sometimes it's a political correctness decision, or sometimes it's just, I don't like you. This person sucks, so let's do him or her. Let's really get those charges filed on the person.
Yeah, let's do them dirty. Yeah.
So internal affairs shouldn't be like that.
No,
but it could be like that if you don't fight for your cases. But some people, I mean, if you violate a rule, you violate a rule. If you violate a guiding principle, you violate. If you violate a freaking law, you violate. But there's still a way of treating people.
Right.
There's still a way of interacting with people from this side of the table, IAD, to that side of the table, officer, right? There still should be a level of respect and not disdain for what that. Like, I would never do that. I'm not. You need to answer to this. Well, I never looked at it like that in any of my cases, and when Al tried to change it a little bit, it got changed to from my perspective, it allowed me to really make my cases, and really delve into why the officer did what they did, and try to come to a more better conclusion than just giving them days, suspending them, or giving them a bad mark in their record book. But even with the political wins, those were still rare. But even internal affairs wasn't free of politics.
See, in a perfect world, and we talked about this before, it should be right and wrong. It's like, okay, you messed up. Where was your heart at? Did you mean to mess up? Did you have malice? Did you, where is this coming from? Okay. And, at your level, you didn't dole out the punishment. The chief is the one who doles out the punishment.
We wrote the cases. We did the investigation.
Right. You did, but lieutenant and the captain are the ones who give the recommendations to the chief. It's like, okay, O'Donnell's going to take a 30-day rap, or he's going to take a week long, or or he's going to get demoted, or whatever the case may be. And boy, I think it would be tough to work your heart out on a case and believe in it and do what you thought was right, and then just see it just manipulated and turned around, and all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second here,
Yeah.
I'm not saying
absolutely.
that it was somebody added or subtracted to your investigation, but the punishment didn't fit the crime, I guess is the best way I'm putting it. And like you said, they had a hard on for somebody, for whatever the reason is, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna bury him. And that's not right. It should be, it should be like justice. It should be blind. It should be the totality of the circumstances. We've heard a few million times, as students, any kind of criminal law class, it's the totality of the circumstances. It's like, okay, is this right? Is this wrong? Yeah. Okay. There's a pattern here. This cop is getting dinged for this over and over and over. Okay, well, maybe there's something wrong with his home life. Maybe he's has a problem with booze. Maybe there's a lot of different avenues, but sometimes, boy, like you said, I met some IAD sergeants or higher that didn't do anything for their entire careers and hid
nothing
up there.
Zero.
And you're just fuming because that fact, and they're looking down on you, and they just got that smug little smile, and you're just like, oh my God, I just want to rip it right off your face. Those made for some tough times.
Yeah, I did it for 4.5 years, Pat.
Oof.
And that's 2 years too long to see. And then you're looking inside other officers' lives, right? So that's an ugly experience right there, looking into the lives of officers who are good officers who want to do a good job but are making mistakes because of maybe family life, or maybe because they weren't trained right, or maybe because no one ever told them to put their head out their ass. Some officers never were supervised. Some officers have always been kind of out on their own, and when they get supervision, they don't even know how to deal with it because no one ever supervised them. So now you're running afoul of policies and procedures, and that becomes an issue of reprimand, right?
Right.
So I do want to say this about internal affairs. Departments need police. They need someone to police other police
all
officers.
day long. Absolutely.
To think that internal affairs is not needed would be a misguided thought process by anyone. Yes. So
the department would fail if there was no IAD. It would fail.
Oh my God, yes, because there would be no accountability. But there are times when maybe we're not looking at the cause, we're just looking at what happened, not looking at the reason why this happened.
Yes.
And therefore punishment is not looked at from the officer's perspective per se, but just from a adjustment of what they did wrong perspective, which can be ruinous at times too.
Yes.
Because I'm not really giving you a fair shake for what you've done in your career. Well, you broke this rule, so I don't care what you've done in your career. I've been a great cop all my career. What do you mean you're going to give me 5 days for this? I've never had this, you're like, well, you're going to take these 5 days. It's like, no, why are we giving 5, 10, 15 days for officers who, been pretty stellar in their career? You're just not taking into consideration, I guess, enough.
Right. I totally agree with you. Now, when you got into internal affairs and after you left, did you lose any friends, or did you have anybody that kind of like looked at you sideways or was like, he's IAD now, or he was?
So everyone knew when I left IAD and I got promoted to lieutenant, I went to the academy for a little bit, for about a year, less than a year. Mind you, all this time I've been a sergeant for about 17 years, right? Okay. I don't want everybody to think that my career was like here to here. I was a sergeant for quite a while. And when I made lieutenant, I show up at District 5 and I have I'm so well-rounded. I am so ready for the position of lieutenant in my mind that I don't know if anyone hated on me or they were like, but I know people are probably thinking, we're getting Walsh from internal affairs. but me, I always think that I was honorable in my positions. I was never vindictive in my positions of authority or influence. So when I came to District 5 with that internal affairs tag, it actually worked out better for my officers, my sergeants, because I was able to teach them how to deal with the rules properly, how to even discipline their officer, how to even get ahead of things properly. And my sergeants, took that to heart, and they would bring stuff to me. We would discuss stuff. We would discuss use of force. We would discuss conversations that officers would have, or discuss, different personal life the officers have, and how to best bring them back into a policing mindset, whatever the case may be with an officer, because I had so much knowledge as a internal affairs sergeant. I mean, the wealth of knowledge about rules, regulations, and guiding principles, it made me so much more better to serve my officers at District 5 and I had District 5 late power. So it was just a wonderful experience. Who knows? I don't know what they thought about me coming. I just know that my team of sergeants and my officers trusted me dear. Dude, when I retired, they bought me a rifle.
Yeah.
They bought me a SIG rifle. I mean, they threw me a party. I mean, it was a celebration of ending my career. Then see you later. Go ahead, get out of here, whatever. So I don't know.
What did that mean to you to retire out of the shift that you started? I mean, you went full circle. Did you ever think when you're sitting in the assembly squad, you were 51 at first, right?
I was 53, and then 53, and then 51.
Okay. Did you ever think when you're sitting there that, hey, I'm going to be, Lieutenant Olson. I'm going to be, Lieutenant Davidowski. Am I going to be, it's like, did you ever think in 100 years that you would have been that person?
Never even crossed my mind, brother. Yeah. Never even thought about it. I thought I'd be a street cop forever.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah.
We're all having too much fun. But the reason why I promoted to sergeant was I saw some of the buffoonery when I got transferred and, around the city. And it's like, you're a sergeant? You're telling me what to do? I can do better.
That's a motivator.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, that's a motivator.
Yeah, it is. So I always ask cops that are retired, and doing other stuff or whatever. What do you miss the most about the job?
And for me, I think like most people, maybe you, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's the people. It's the people that I could have been friends with for the rest of my life. It's the people that I could have shared memories for the rest of my life with. And this is going throughout my career as a police officer, not just District 5, but what a great growing ground of fertilizer growing into the cop that I would become and start working my way through different locations on the department. It's the people. There was just some really good people, but there's also, like you said, it's family. There's also some buffoons, right?
Oh yeah.
There's also people that changed as they went up or changed as they went to different places. I guess, but I would say overall it was the people that I got to meet, experience, and work with. It's no other job like policing to me. It's just no other job like it.
I
Maybe
agree.
combat in a war zone, but
Right.
there's nothing like policing.
Well, we were in a war zone. I mean, compared to like some wars that have, occurred where you have soldiers or Marines, on the front lines, we were doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a very unique time. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So, most of your career, you've been teaching, or a good chunk of it, in some way, shape, or fashion, either formally or informally or whatever.
Mhm.
So you have a job now where you're teaching, and you're teaching what, like an intro to criminology, and what's the other class you're teaching?
Well, so I teach the entire 2-year degree program at
Okay.
Blackhawk Technical College down in Janesville. So I teach all the subjects from the intro courses to even the capstone course of criminal investigation. So
Okay.
for the 2-year degree program, there's 60 credits, and in that 60 credit, I teach all those subjects at one time or another. Like this semester, I have 5 different subjects I'm teaching.
Okay. So why do it?
It'll rotate for something else next semester and something else within the criminal degree program.
Yeah. Why do it? Why be a teacher right now in your
Why
retirement?
do it?
Yeah, why?
Oh, because there's still something to contribute. I still have something to contribute. I still want to help mold that next generation of people that want to go into this field. There's still need for law enforcement in this field. I still want to encourage those that don't know what they don't know, right?
Right.
They don't know what they're getting into, but I know that we as a society need these young people to come into this field eager to serve their fellow man and woman, right? Eager to serve communities of people, eager to stand in the way of bad acting people for the preciousness of good acting people. I still want to contribute from my career to my students that there's a path to success. There's a path to retirement. There's a path to raising a family. This job is still a job that needs good, decent people to take on the challenge of societal ills, right? So I teach because I still love it. I still want to encourage. I still have something to give.
I was lucky enough to go to your classroom,
and I appreciate you showing up, brother. That was cool.
2 or 3 weeks ago, and I saw your enthusiasm, and the kids, and some of them aren't kids, they're a little bit older. Mm-hmm. They respond to that, and you're not just a talking head at, in front of the classroom, and what really jumped out at me was these are a bunch of really good kids, and please tell them that, they're very respectful. You never know what you're going to walk into when you do something like that. It's like, the first question is, who did you shoot? Or why do you have to kill so many black folk? You're like, oh God, here we go. And, it was so enjoyable to be around them, and it kind of re-energizes you. And it did to me. It's a great experience. And, again, kudos to you and your class. Totally enjoyed it. Thank you very much. So real quick, as we're wrapping this up, when did you start writing? Because you're not just a teacher, you're a writer too. When did you start that?
Oh man, Pat, I started writing when back in high school. I wrote for our school paper. And I got encouraged by our school paper from a English teacher of mine. And he read one of my articles regarding World War II and the Nazi invasion of I couldn't even tell you what, but he says, man, your writing is really good. I can really see and visualize what you're saying. And he invited me. That's who invited me to write for the school paper. So he sent me on assignments and I would write. And I'm a freshman writing for the school paper, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to dive into writing pretty much since my freshman year of high school. But once again, I was encouraged by a teacher of mine who said, you have something special here, which made me think I had something special here. And I was like, well, maybe I do, you start thinking positive about yourself. You start having these good good experiences of encouragement. You start thinking, well, I can take on the world. I can do that. I can do this. Yeah. Why not? And I just plus I love reading too. I've always been a avid reader. And so writing and reading kind of went together for me.
So your first novel, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? It's Fallen Angel, correct?
Yeah. So my first novel is called Fallen Angel. It's actually a 3-novel series. First one is called Fallen Angel at the beginning. And it's about heaven and hell. It's about good and evil. It's about it's about the unseen war between the fallen angels on Earth and the secret order, a priestly order called the SWAT of God. And they send out these young pious priests. They train them in all the martial arts shows. They train them in subversion. They start training them in all kinds of stuff. And they give them a kind of a secret identity to infiltrate the fallen organizations on Earth. And it's a wonderful read. And can I read the introduction so they really paint the picture? Sure. Okay, so the introduction talks about the very fabric of heaven will be torn asunder as the obedient struggle with the disobedient in an effort for dominance. None will escape unscarred when the blood of angels mix with that of man. So choose a side. Man must, whether few knowingly, yet all will. Fallen angels is a sonnet that encompasses the entirety of creation, angels of light and those of dark, and those will die in defense or dominance of a coveted trophy, the precious soul of man. Fallen Angel's main character is an Asian hustler who is in truth a devout priest of a secret ancient knightly order called the Sword of God. The main character, Criven, his name, was chosen by a mysterious sect to sacrifice his body and mind in a war that rages just beyond the day-to-day life of mankind. Criven's journey is one of necessity, courage, and self-sacrifice, though it is never apparent if he will lose more than those few seconds of mortality with that of an everlasting shower in hellfire. His journey takes you from the epic proportions of society, and the people he will use, abuse, and even destroy will be done for the greater good of mankind. Then it goes on to say, where will the line of demarcation separate the light and darkness? Craven stands vigilant to do whatever he must to defeat evil, and in that knowledge, nothing will deter him from the sanctified path. How will you battle evil if you don't know its face? And then the last part I would add is that this journey will take the reader from the grandeur of heaven down through the ghettos created by man, the real seat of evil, where Craven is trying to infiltrate these organizations that we might know as like the mafia, but there actually are these entities that are behind these organizations that are really fallen angel organizations.
Okay. Very good. So when's the next book coming out?
Well, that's written. The third one is written.
And they're written. Okay.
And it's hard to break into and you know this, Pat. I mean, you're just a wonderful published author with how many novels you got published? Like 8, 9?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know how easy it was for you to break into it. It's been very difficult for me to break into it. And I've been told my writing style, but I write from. So if I write from in a perspective, say, Mama was lying in bed, did not hear the storm door break open, and nor did Mama hear the steps creaking as somebody was approaching the bedroom. So my writing would get rejected on that, and they would tell me to write, well, you should write, well, the mother was sleeping silently. So my voice is different than that of maybe the majority voice. So I think many times authors like me in science fiction don't get an opportunity because the voice doesn't speak to what they're hearing.
I'm going to talk to you, Mister, when we get off air, and I think you're a prime candidate for indie publishing. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, cool.
We'll get your books into the wild. They need to get out there. So, what's in the future for you? Let's start wrapping this up.
All right. Well, I just finished my patent. I got my patent. I got the only patent on a fishing lure, a weedless fishing lure. My lure is a weedless fishing lure that you can fish into weeds, lily pads, brush, underwater obstructions, and it won't hook on anything. So all the hooks pop from inside the lure. So I just got the patent. It was about a 3-year journey. I came out on so it came out. I got my patent on June 28th. So it's still kind of wet behind the ears. Yeah. And I've been working to get that to market. I just got a call the other day from Project Pitch, Wisconsin, regarding my opportunity to perhaps get on that show. And that's with David Gruber and all those guys, kind of like the Wisconsin Shark Tank.
Okay, cool. So, very good.
Yeah, so that's the future. And spending time with my grandson, traveling, being retired. Like you said, we made the marathon. So I'm going to enjoy this. I want to sip on cognac, smoke cigars, and just enjoy the breath of living this life, man.
Hey, amen to that. All right. Well, I think this is a good place for us to end. Thank you very much for being on the show today, Will.
It's a pleasure, Pat. And thank you so much, brother.